G'day guys, Tills20 here and welcome back to Marble Mountain. Today we are going to be continuing work on the coastline of Marble Mountain with, of course, our good man, Citywokcitywall. Hello, my friend.
What up, man? How's it going?
Dude, a lot's going on, and a lot is going on in Marble Mountain at the moment. We're halfway through the builds that you did for us over the last couple of weeks. As you work on the coastline, it is just such a magnificent build, and today we're going to be doing some more work around here. What's installed for us today?
Yes, so we're just kind of picking up where we left off from. We're getting pretty close here to this area that is a little bit of like a bay that is along this coastline. There's like a really big valley that leads into this bay. And so, I was trying to take some inspiration from a real place that kind of had a similar looking coastline, and there's a couple spots, but one of them that's a little bit more to this scale is Half Moon Bay, which is just south of San Francisco. It's about maybe like a 45-minute drive, and it's this really beautiful place that is very quaint. There's a lot of farms mixed into it. They have this harbor where there's a lot of fishing that happens. But other than that, it's like a really quiet town, and I thought it could be a nice place to take some inspiration from, kind of on the outskirts of the map. So
very cool.
Yeah, so Half Moon Bay is a little bit bigger in real life. It's kind of a little bit larger than what we're taking inspiration from. It's all this sort of area, and downtown Half Moon Bay is really over here. And this area is actually called Princeton, I believe, where they have their harbor and everything, and this is where the weather station is from last episode. And so you're seeing me now kind of put together this breakwater that is obviously, because we're playing City Skylines, the scale of it is a lot smaller, but the technique here is basically I'm using this pedestrian path. You just saw me place it down because it's pretty much the skinniest sort of terrain conforming thing that you have, and making one tall one, and then you just saw me copy and paste and duplicate two ones kind of sunken in the ground, and you can do this cool trick where you can get rid of that notification, like the flooding notification, if you raise up all the terrain around there. So that's a great idea. Yeah, so right now you saw there was still little bits of it complaining, but the more you go and mess with the terrain and raise it up as much as you can, even though it's obviously forced down because of that network, eventually it will trick the game, and the game will think, oh, this terrain is meant to be above water, even though obviously it's not, and it will stop complaining. That's great. I didn't know you could do that. Yeah, it's very useful to get rid of those notifications. If those notifications, like they do for me, they really bother me. I try to get rid of all the notifications that I can. Yeah, they bother me as well. I don't know if you know this and the answer to this, but I also would really love to get rid of all the districts. I like painting and making the districts, but I don't like to see. I think the only way is going to be with the Hide It mod does that, I believe. Oh, does it? I think so, yeah. Wonderful. All right, done. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing that. And what are we working on now? It looks like you're putting in some more gutting placements. Yeah. So I ended up placing this power line up here because I didn't know how to get power to this area, and I ended up deciding to run a power line to the edge of the map and then place some like windmills kind of up on these hills and behind. And so this is just the power line that gets power to the city and everything. And so once the power line was up there, and obviously, you gotta make it realistic. So it transitions from a smaller one and then goes to a really big one as it crosses this ravine, which is something that does happen in real life. You get these really big poles just for a little bit when it does a really big span like that. So once I was up there, I was like, okay, you know what, we're already here. Something realistic that would go in a place like this is some more bunkers, because in California, all these kind of bluffs had bunkers on them from World War II, bunkers that weren't really used, but it's fun, in real life going and exploring these bunkers because they're open for the most part and kind of like little hiking attractions to go visit. Yeah, we've got a bunch in Sydney as well that are
yeah, they're just like scattered around the coastline. And a lot of them, there's a bunch of them that are really well known, and they've got like proper paths going there, and there's people walking in and out. But then there's a whole bunch that are just so hidden that you'd never know that they are there unless you're, accidentally stumble upon them or something like that.
So now we're just working on this a little bit of coastline, this is like based off of this real place Mavericks, which is I mentioned it last episode. It's a very famous surfing location, and there's a beach here, and this is like a place to hike out to as well. There's a really nice trail along the water, and so I was just trying to mimic this. You'll see like even this big piece of cement I mimicked, and benches along the way. This little dial of kind of like plants with little pieces of little paths of sand going between. I like noticed that this is a thing that happens all over the place, and so this was something that I used. You'll see me use shortly, and continued to use along the coastline. I never really realized it in real life, but that's a very common looking way that these plants and the sand kind of interact with each other.
That's so funny that it takes a video game to notice something in real life.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I find the same thing. That's really cool that you've gone to, I feel like you're teaching me a lot about California that I don't already know, because I've only been a couple of times and not even for that long. So it's really cool to like check out these little areas, and you've gone to some real great lengths to get those details, and so much little stories behind the things that you're talking about. If you're anyone who is if you're listening and you're someone who jumps on the wiki and likes to write stories for these places, I feel like we're sort of coming up with a whole bunch of different really fun areas that definitely deserve some sort of story or history behind it. So yeah, definitely hit up the wiki page if you're interested in adding to that. I feel like, I don't know, I almost want to grab the waves mod now, or the wave assets.
Those could be cool here. I was definitely thinking about those a little bit here and there, especially in that surfing spot. Would have been cool to get some big waves out there.
Yeah.
That's how it is in real life, obviously.
Yeah.
So here we are making our way closer to where this trail begins. And in real life, this begins like a little bit, not in town or anything. It's here at the base of where the weather station is. But, obviously because we're scaled down, we have to move things around. So I combined where that parking lot is, which you'll see shortly. Here we are doing the cement thing, though. This is just a big pillar in the ground.
I love that you had to get the cement thing in, though.
Yeah, I know. It was not needed, but I was like looking at it like, what the heck is this piece of cement doing here? And all of a sudden it was standing out to me, and it's like, okay, well, all I have to do is put a piece of pillar in the ground and we can have something similar. So what ridiculous. I'm starting on now is this area that is called Princeton. And this is like some sort of crazy industrial area in real life, where they have like a bunch of boat trash and there's some houses, there's some warehouses. It's like all mixed together in this really bizarre way. And so that's what I was going for here, is like some sort of weird mix of houses and like boat junk and like there's a motel that you'll see in a little bit. Kind of just trying to get a very small version of the vibe of this place, where it's kind of like there to facilitate the harbor here.
Yeah, right. Okay, that makes sense. Because I felt the same way when I was looking at this. I'm thinking, this is like a weird industrial mix here, right next to the marina. But that does make sense if you're going for that mixed-use space.
Yeah, it doesn't, to be honest, this area in real life doesn't really make too much sense to me the way that it exists. It's also directly next to an airport, like this little prop plane airport here, and it's just such a strange place, and it almost feels like sketchy when you're driving through it, but the rest of it can't possibly be, because this is such a nice area in general, but I think it's just there to facilitate the fishing industry. Basically, I think some people must live here, other people must park their boats here during the winter or the summer or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's just some sort of storage and place to help out the fishing industry.
I see that you're using the cars, like the props, to cover up the Z fighting. Is that what you're doing there on the decals?
Yes, that is what I was doing there.
Yeah,
nice way to hide things.
Yeah, great.
That Z fighting is very annoying.
Yeah, I noticed in Mars that you had a lot of buildings. You know, if you hold down shift and press page up, you can just move it up like a slight increment.
Yeah, I do forget to do that though.
Okay, yeah. I was wondering whether you forgot to do that or whether I was hopefully going to teach you something.
Yeah, Mars does have a good amount of Z fighting. It's annoying.
It's because it's just like so much stuff spliced together. Like every building.
I know, and you place it down, you don't even, you forget about it, and all of a sudden there's Z fighting everywhere, and you're like, oh man, I'm not gonna go fix all of this.
I find it really amazing how many places you have like just that little bit of detail that, you're just like, I don't think anyone noticed this, but I know that you noticed it, and that's why you've changed it.
Yeah, exactly.
I did appreciate that.
So here we are starting out on this little marina area, and in the real place, this is a very interesting spot where you can drive out in amongst all the boats here, and there's this little like island here in the middle of the harbor. I guess it's less of an island and more of just like a big part of this pier or whatever. So I wanted to do something similar. I do know that you have a lot of ferries going around Marble Mountain, and so I thought a good way to do something here and have it be functional, at least for Marble Mountain, was to make a ferry stop. Obviously, the better thing, the more realistic thing would have been to use the fishing industries stuff. But I've actually never used that, and I was a little afraid of trying out something that I've never even attempted to use here for the first time.
It's funny, this stuff, because I've obviously flown around and checked out this for myself, but there's so much that I didn't notice, but now I notice because you're building it. It's so crazy.
You've looked at Half Moon Bay before?
No. I mean, like, flying around your builds in Marble Mountain.
Yes.
And I don't think I even noticed this little marina, but like, or even the wooden pillars that you're putting underneath each one of these piers is pretty
you'll
insane.
see these wooden pillars really become a theme of this whole build. Like, this is the first place I use them, and I use quite a few of them going forward, especially in the next episode. You'll see. It's
funny how like you find an asset that you're just like, oh, this one's, I can do this with that, and I can do that with this. Like there's just a couple of assets that you just got so much use for it, and then I always forget which one it is. I need to start using the tag feature a little bit more.
Those are the tags are so great. I've been using those more and more. Just tagging things. Like a lot of times, if I'm searching for something and I can't find it.
Yes.
Once I finally do find it, I go and tag it with every single thing that I was searching for leading up to that moment. So that if I ever am looking for the same thing, I know what it was that I was looking for first, what I typed in, you know what I mean? It's going to hopefully come up next time.
That's so good. I was using the tag feature a lot in Mars. I pretty much like scrolled through everything using Find It in Mars and just like tagged everything that I was going to use. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
I should have given you my Find It tags. Those are helpful sometimes too if you're working in that project.
I do have a few tags in Marble Mountain as well. I could have sent you. Oh, well, next time you're in.
Speaking of which, man, I ended up having to make my own version of the forest brush. I know obviously that's not what's happening on screen, but I really hope I did the forest brush the right way, because I was very worried that I wasn't using the right trees or the right amounts of the right trees or the right density or whatever.
I know, it looks good.
It was very makeshift.
No, it's all good. And the way that you've spaced out these boats as well, I really like that you've used that wooden pillar as well just to space them out. That's really clever.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, there's those, I believe they're like Monaco piers or something that's functions the same way. That's just a much more purpose-built asset that's on the workshop. But in this scenario, it worked pretty well. I kind of wish I had come back to here and fix this, because what I did later on, you'll see in the next episode, is I used two of these wooden things directly next to each other, but offset just a little bit so that there wasn't those like holes that you could see underneath. It was like more of a solid surface of wood.
Yeah.
That ended up looking much better, I think, than this. But
yeah,
forgot to do that. I'm sorry.
Oh man, no one's gonna notice. Oh, and you're even making the ferry line for me. God, you've really done me a lot.
I did, yeah. It's there's also a bus line here. I wanted to get a bus going to that bus stop that I made, and this bus line does when the town gets built, it also makes a couple stops in the town as well.
That's so good. Did you enjoy like sort of playing the game a little bit differently than in Mars?
To be honest, that kind of stuff, using the paths and stuff, happens a lot in Mars. I do do a lot of placing those kind of things, making helicopter paths or routes for cable cars. It wasn't too different, that kind of stuff, at least. That is so true.
Something that I did notice is everything works as pretty much the same as Marble Mountain. Like everything is, like all the services are connected, all the houses are connected. I think that's why I made sure that I used the conveyor belt so that I could stay true to that as well.
Yeah, it just pisses me off when those notifications are filling up your screen, and at the same time I don't want to get rid of them, because then if there really is a problem, I want to know about it, whatever. So I end up just going through and trying to make everything work, and that's how it is.
Oh, dude, I just saw that you used the little manhole for the planters.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
That was a lucky little decal. I don't remember how I even thought of that. You'll see later on I also used some trash cans for planters as well in some other places. You got to be real creative with the limited assets.
Dude, welcome to Marble Mountain. So good.
So you just saw me. I didn't really mention it, but there's a very famous fish restaurant that is in this place in Half Moon Bay that I was trying to make a little bit of a similar thing, where they have some patio, and they also have a to-go window that you can walk up to and eat at some picnic tables that are out on the street. So that's kind of what I was going for there, and just some other little random buildings nearby.
Yeah, I feel like this is the vibe. I can see that this is nothing like the area that you were taking inspiration from, but the vibe is definitely there. You got this like trash piles, you got the industry, you got like a couple of houses. It's very interesting.
Yeah, so it's just like a much more scrunched down version of this place. So, on Google Maps, you got the harbor way over here, and then you got the fish restaurant here, like kind of far away, and then way over here you start to get to more like, literally boats and RVs like hanging out on the water here, and so it's just all right next to each other instead.
Yeah, scrunched down version. I love it. That's definitely something I'm gonna keep.
So there's it's not super common, but it's like kind of a thing that about if you've been to places like Half Moon Bay or Pacifica or San Luis Obispo or a lot of these smaller towns in California. There are these really awesome old style hotels that are like really grand, and they're maybe built in like the 20s or something. And there's not all that many of them left. I know like the one in Pacifica was a whole thing trying to keep it from being torn down, and there's one that's in San Luis Obispo that's really cool, that's like a similar thing, but it's like each room is themed, like one's a Jurassic Park theme, maybe not Jurassic Park, but they're like different, themed after like really different styles. I've actually never been there. I've only ever heard about it, but so I'm not 100% sure what the themes are, but they're like all sorts of different, you can request which room you want, the Snow White room or whatever it is.
God, that's weird. That is so weird.
So I was going for something similar here. Obviously not themed like that, but in Half Moon Bay, there's a place that's kind of more modern version of this that isn't, very historically or architecturally impressive as some of these more historic ones are. So I was trying to do a little bit of a combination of the two here, where it's using some of these vanilla assets. I think these are from the university.
Yeah, these are ones that King Leonard made.
Yeah, so these worked pretty well here. They kind of have that same sort of maybe 1920s feel to them, and just using them over and over to make a much larger structure. You just saw me use procedural objects again just to make like a entrance for the parking lot, to turn a prop black so that it looked a little bit like it was some sort of darkness under there.
Beautiful.
So that was one of the few places I used procedural objects, is just to make that little dark prop.
And look at I love that you're using the platforms to just use as like concrete bases. Beautiful.
Yeah, well, this is before I found the prop that I didn't realize you had, but I actually use all the time in Mars. There's a really great concrete piece that I probably would have used here if I had known that you had it at this point. It's sort of flat, and you'll see I use it a bunch in the next episode.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
I don't think I know it. Oh, I might know it. I think, is it another King Leno?
It's a railroad piece, I believe. It's part of a railroad pack.
Yeah, I feel like, so would you imagine that this is like an old style hotel, or would this be?
Yeah, I would imagine this is an old style hotel. Like, you'll see in a little bit, I make a really big old style sign for it, which is the one in San Luis Obispo called Madonna Inn. That's kind of how it is. You see like a really big Madonna Inn sign when you're driving on the freeway, and you see it from the freeway, and it's this really big, grand sort of old building. And you saw me place a little Park Life DLC little, what is it? What are those called?
Gazebo.
Gazebo, yes, on the top of it. Kind of make a little point at the top, which is a little makeshift, but
yeah.
So now we're working on a little area that's I was having an issue with the services because there was no fire department out this far, and I think you don't have fires, but there was something complaining, or I don't remember exactly why I decided, but I decided, this area should probably have a fire department. So built that, and a little kind of more like fast food restaurant that you might get to off the highway. I think there was somewhere in my memory of Half Moon Bay I was thinking about it, but I wasn't looking at Google Maps when I did that.
So you've taken many road trips up this way?
Definitely, yes. Quite a few. It's a really nice area. A lot of good food, a lot of good seafood.
Yeah.
It's mainly the reason is, when you're feeling seafood, you take the drive and you go over there.
I love these bumpers that you've made. Is that just like little bits of concrete?
It's the retaining wall. So it's two little nodes and a segment, really small and squished together and lowered down.
Those retaining walls, they're like magic in my world.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how useful they are.
Yeah, I use them for just about everything. I even used them a lot in Mars. Just, I'm pretty sure you even had the props, but I'm just so I'm so used to using them in everything in Marble Mountain that I found them again. I was like, I'm going to use that.
Yeah, well, and obviously that you can make curves with it too. That's the big, obviously because it's a network, so it's a little bit more functional that way. Yeah,
for sure. And now you're gonna start putting down the infrastructure for the town that you're going to build in the next episode. So this is like a good teaser for what's gonna come up next.
Yeah, this is just laying the groundwork pretty much. So obviously you're watching me place down this train line that I didn't know how you wanted me to connect this. I hit you up right about this moment of the time lapse and was asking you how you wanted me to connect that to the other train lines, or if you wanted me to connect it to the other train lines, or if I should not do a train, or how it should work. And that just kind of goes into a tunnel right now and connects up. One end connects up towards Oakwood, and the other end connects up towards the Bay Bridge there. And then you saw me also kind of use some terraforming and lower some ground and get some water coming this way, because in a real valley like this would be created by a stream that obviously goes down the valley and dead ends here in this kind of little cove of the landscape here. So I felt that was kind of needed in order to justify why this terrain and why this area looks like this, even is get a river that reaches the ocean here.
100%, man. But I just can't believe how much you managed to squeeze into what is such a tiny block of land. Like, this is so small. I think I remember when we were talking about what you could build here, and I'm saying, oh yeah, man, like a little town, but I was like, please don't go too big, because I just knew there wasn't much space here. And I also wanted there to be like enough room from this town to Oakwood, because I didn't want it to feel like it was just an extension of Oakwood. So I was like, I hope I'm not being too cryptic or like giving you too much of a job, because you really just don't have much space. But you pulled it off, dude. Like, it's You've managed to fit in so much detail into what is such a small footprint.
Yeah, that was a big part of it. A big part of the challenge was trying to squeeze in all these different little areas and inspirations, and trying to justify the size of the town with the space that it had, and trying to get the scale of everything right. And you'll see next episode, I made most of the downtown of this town, but kind of left you with how you wanted to transition it to the other places, because I felt like leaving this town and making kind of like the, you know, how much residential was going to be around here. Is it going to be farm? What's going to, you know, how is it going to get from here to some of the other places that you've already built? That's a little bit more your territory. I didn't really want to step on your feet or lock you into a certain thing. So the town isn't 100% finised.
Oh man, but then we'll be going on to like 4 or 5 episodes. You've already done me like a massive favor.
I know. I couldn't. I was getting like a little bit burnt out by the end of this. I'll be honest. I was like, oh, There's a lot of Marble Mountain. So you're seeing me use these retaining walls here again as lines.
Yeah,
which they're a little bit intense looking. You can't really fade them in any way.
That's so good.
So basically what you had here originally was you had some sort of interchange here where there was like a road that went up in the air, right? And across, it was like a whole sort of like larger intersection. And I was thinking, you know, in a real place like this in California, you would just have a big traffic light, you know, where these highways meet up. It wouldn't be a whole overpass or anything. So I was trying to go for a little bit, you know, I was trying to get it functional and have it be all highways meeting up and make like a larger intersection here. And obviously you can see me struggling with the timed traffic lights, trying to not have it be a huge issue. And it ended up working out. I haven't really done much timed traffic light work in a really long time. So there's some new features of the mod that haven't been there since I've used it.
Dude, that is exactly why I don't have this style intersection, because I was like, I'd have to do all the timed traffic lights, and I'm just gonna do a good old-fashioned interchange like the one that I had here. So I'm really glad that you did this.
Yeah, well, it makes sense in certain places, but in other places, like, you know, in the history of California, a place like this, like a little town along the water, is honestly one of the oldest places in California, because that's where, you know, it made sense to make a town in the first place, you know, get somewhere along the water so you can fish. So a lot of times, you know, there's not really big highways going through here, or if they are, they're much newer, and a lot of times it's like intersections like this that kind of get you from one highway to another.
And the custom pillars, I feel like that really adds so much detail.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really look good until I added those. It was like kind of bizarre looking before there was some pillars, if I do say so.
That's great. Dude, again, I mean, we are getting very close to the end of the timeline. So I just want to say a huge thank you again for your work on this area. It is just coming together so well, and I really think that the next episode is when, I think we're saving the best for last, don't you?
I do. I think the next episode's really fun.
Yeah, it's so fun.
And thanks for having me here and letting me into Marble Mountain, man.
Oh,
really
man.
Appreciate it. This is super
It's
fun.
great. I was hoping this would be one episode, but you gave me 3, so that's just
I know. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
I couldn't help myself.
None of us
I just
are
got so
complaining.
into it. Yeah,
no, people have been wanting me to build in this area for ages, and it's just even better that you did it, so it's really great. Guys, if you haven't already, go and check out Citywok at Citywall's channel. It's he's doing some really amazing stuff over there. But we are out of time. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!